Hi, welcome to Doses of. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Darling Tovar. I'm a clinical mental health counselor and a spiritual mentor. This podcast is about all things holistic wellness, mental wellness, spiritual wellness, emotional wellness. If you are a returning viewer or listener, welcome back. I'm sure that you all noticed that I changed the logo and the name of the podcast. Same logo, just different colors. I just feel that it goes really well with the theme for this season. And doses of. I feel like y'all got enough doses of me in the last 2 seasons. You'll get tiny little doses here and there every once in a while, and maybe a full podcast episode about me, but I really wanted to focus on these other people who are my guests for this season. And so it is now Doses of, and whoever the guest is for that episode. So I'm really grateful and really excited to be back. I know that I promised that I would be back last year, and I feel like I have a justifiable explanation, but even to myself, I'm like, it's not a good enough reason as to why you didn't come back earlier. I was going through a lot of different shifts in life. The major shifts that I was going through was that I actually started my own business. I'm no longer working for a group practice anymore. And I was kind of just rolling through the punches of what all of the admin work for that has been looking like, putting together workshops and retreats and seeing my therapy clients, and now getting ready to offer coaching and mentorship spots. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a clinical mental health therapist, and I'm also a spiritual mentor. So there's an aspect of coaching that comes along with that as well. And that's all of the stuff that was taking my attention and time away from being able to do this. I just was so worried about where my business was going to go that I didn't allow myself the time to do this. And my humanity really came through as kind of like a block to moving forward with season 3. And that's okay. It's okay that happened, because I got to learn about, I still want to do this, and nobody's asking me to show up perfectly. I just have information to put out, and I'm going to put it out however I can. This season is really, really special. The topic that we're going to be covering is sacred disruption. Sacred disruption to me are different events or things that have happened in people's lives that have shifted or made them pivot in some way that is like a major, major change for their life. And along with those shifts and changes, they needed to seek some sort of mental wellness help, whether that was spiritual help or therapy or medicine journeys, what have you. We've talked about it in the previous season that there is no one size fits all modality or practice for anybody when it comes to the mental wellness space, right? And we have to do our job as people who are seeking the help to figure out what it is that is aligning with us to help us deal with or grow through traumas and different things that happen to us in our lives. And so putting the spotlight on our guests, they will be talking to us about these sacred disruptions in their lives that caused them to seek guidance in the mental wellness space, in the spiritual space, that helped them to make that shift and that pivot in their life to either get back to where they wanted to or evolve to the next version of who they were meant to be. And this first episode is going to be Doses of Sol Bautista. Sol Bautista is an EMDR therapist. She is an actress. She is a creative. She is a producer. She is an amazing human being, and she does all of the things, and she's a philanthropist, and she's generous, and she's just great at what she does. I'm really lucky to call her a friend and a fellow therapist. And so we're going to be starting off with her episode about her sacred disruptions and learning about where she turned in order to help navigate her way through the disruptions and out to the other side. So, without further ado, thank you for joining me, and here is Doses of Sol Bautista.
So when you send me the questions, I started thinking about two very important events about disruption of systems, right? Like, and about what they did to my identity and like in kind of who I've become in having the ability to see the before and after now that I'm 43. Um, but with what you just share about like framing this under the wisdom of intergenerational wisdom, like I think that there's so much conversation around what generational trauma is, but with generational trauma, there is generational wisdom, you know? And thank you so much for having me talk about this.
I'm really excited to hear about the topics that you chose to talk about because we have so many events or situations that happen throughout our lives, especially those of us who have been alive for decades. It's like several different things at different phases of our lives that come in, and it's like a plot twist, surprise, and you have to kind of like navigate through these storms that become something really, really beautiful on the other side of them, and we don't realize that that's what's going to happen. So, I sent you a few topics, and you were like, I kind of want to do two, and I was like, of course, let's go for it. And this topic of sacred disruption is really near and dear to me because of course, mental holistic wellness always comes along with any sort of disruptions, and we can spiral in physical ways and spiritual ways and mental ways, and then again, like I mentioned earlier, start climbing our way out of it. Sometimes it takes us years. Sometimes it's a really quick reflection and realization and pivot, but yeah, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about it. You chose the topics of ancestral healing and emotional intelligence that come with like their own kind of little tiny descriptions underneath that. But I guess we'll start with that first question to tell me about a disruption that changed your soul in a way that you could say it changed forever, and what therapeutic tools, people, or practices or modalities kind of helped you navigate through it and get to the other side.
I think that is what I was saying. Like, I kept thinking of two. I'm sorry that I make it more difficult. Like, two themes, two things. Like, it's just um right now at this age, those feel like two of the most important things, right? Like, the first one would be Oaxaca.
Mhm.
I was born and raised in Guadalajara, and under a Catholic family, but attending Jesuit schools.
Mhm.
And knowing about the Jesuits are a little bit different than the rest of the Orthodox Catholic expression of religion. And so they very much send you to social service, to rural experiences, and to like be becoming part of the community. And because of that, I was invited to give a year of my life into a community, and I went to Oaxaca. And my system of thinking, of living and understanding who I was as a woman, what was expected of me, um, all of the infrastructure of my being was already kind of established, right? From 0 to 17. And I knew that I was in a lot of discomfort of what the system was expecting of me. And I felt the loss of, I mean, as a teenager that and or in your teens, right? Like it's everything is so intense. But when I get to Oaxaca, I arrived to Juchitán de Domínguez. My town where I volunteer was Comitancillo. And turns out that it's one of the matriarchal areas in the country that is still thriving. And I just remember getting to Juchitán and like looking at the women, just like completely different postures as all of the women that I knew. Um, More in a wider frame. Like some of them were skinny, but they just look like stronger. Like I remember we got off the bus and like we got into the street to get into the other bus to Comitancillo, and I was like, this is amazing. And in that area, they still wear like very traditional outfits. So I mean, I can talk about this for hours, but like that was the first disruption of Guadalajara is a very cosmopolitan city, and like women take a lot of pride in how they look. They like dressing up is like almost like a must, and like you can be told you cannot enter spaces because you don't look properly, like so. Um, I come from this way of living and existing and presenting yourself to the world, and then I see women full and dress uh, outfits of the indigenous roots and living alive and well and being loud and laugh and being happy. And it was like, you know? And so to summarize a whole year, it became this aspect of everything that I was told was an absolute truth from 0 to 17 was not an absolute truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was not necessarily a lie, but it was not the whole truth. And I could be a woman in a different way. I could behave as a woman in a different way. And I could be a good woman, even if I did good woman, even if I didn't look or embody what I was told a good woman would look like, should do, and or is expected of.
Yeah.
So that was the first like disruption of a system that just mobilized everything, right? Because then you're angry at your mom, at your dad, at the priest, at your family, at like, how can you be so invasive in saying that this one way is the right way, and make me feel guilty for wanting more, and make me feel guilty for being different, and make me feel guilty and lost for being who I was.
Yeah.
When there is a place in the world for women like me.
Mm.
And they're thriving and they're well and they're doing things. So it was massive. And so much so that at that time I was still thinking about studying medicine. I had done a lot of work I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be a neurosurgeon. And I decided to become a psychologist because I guess my thought process, I don't remember the exact language, but I explained this to my dad. My dad still remembers that I told him, like, if I become a doctor, I'm healing bodies that are sick. But if I'm a psychologist, hopefully I can heal the minds so that the bodies don't get sick. And that was like the first one that was massive. And I couldn't talk about the other one unless I've had this long of a life, the 4 decades and then some change. But the second one was when I had the incredible opportunity to be selected to come work over here because a school district went to Mexico to hire professionals. And I always identify myself. This was in 2009, so I was already 22, something, 20 something, I don't know, 2009. And I feel like what a privilege and what an honor to be like people from the US came to Mexico, hired me, gave me a work visa, and I'm working in the States. Like, this is amazing. Then they liked me, then I stayed, then I got my green card, and like they were obviously all the challenges of being the only immigrant in my family, being in another country, which that disrupts some systems. But it wasn't until 2016 when the current president won his first term. And I was in a conversation with some of the educators that I knew at that time, and somebody said, like, what is your experience as a Mexican immigrant? And I remember thinking like, oh, like I'm not a Mexican immigrant. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I am a if anything, just to use the term, because now I know the term, I am an expat. I am a professional Mexican that lives in another country and makes money and it's part of society. Like, what do you mean? No, no, but like, but you're a Mexican immigrant. And it took, I mean, we were at a happy hour, but I was just shocked that I was a Mexican immigrant.
Mm,
Because from 2009 to 2016, my identity was I'm a baller professionist that made it to this position because I'm good at my work, because
mm,
I'm bilingual and bicultural, and because mental health is and culture is very important to me. And so that was another disruption of a different system, right? Like this is not 17-year-old me in my womanhood or in my awakening of who I was, but this is professional Soledad Bautista, psychologist in a different country, learning that the way that people see me was not as I saw myself.
mm,
You know, like I saw myself as a professionist living in a different country, and they saw a brown Mexican immigrant.
mhm,
And that I don't even know part of what system is, but like it, it was the disruption of a system and the colliding forces of many systems
mm,
because then I had to learn more things about myself.
mm,
So those will be two things that are extremely important to defining who I am, how I do the things that I do, how I think about the things that I think, and why the work that I do matters to me.
mhm. Yeah. So
Yeah,
those are two completely different experiences where your world was just rocked in this way, where you were like,
completely.
oh my gosh. And the first one, the only thing that I could think is you're in the same country. Like you went from Guadalajara to Oaxaca, which is just a few states down south, two, if that, maybe three total. And, te das cuenta que yo puedo vivir y ser mujer y esa etiqueta de good woman, de buena mujer, es como que se elimina completamente. Y a este punto, una vez que observas todas estas cosas y aprendes todo de esta sociedad matriarcal, what are some shifts that you begin to do within yourself that come from this disruption of being in Oaxaca? And then, the same question to you discovering that this country, see, I mean, yo no lo puedo poner de otra manera mejor que they see us as inferior because of where we're from and because of our skin color, regardless of how many degrees we have behind our name. Um, Nos hace inmigrante, nos hace inferior. And so that must have been such a shock, not only to your mind, right? Like your system and navigating now your way through how do I keep this mentality that I already have of myself? Because expat is only given to white American. White, I'm not even going to use the word Americans because Bad Bunny told us during the Super Bowl that he reminded us that the America
America is a
not
country.
just the United States, right? Like I want everyone to be reminded of that. But expats are just people from the United States who go and colonize other places, right? Like that's what they do. They go and gentrify other countries with their presence there. Like, why can't we call ourselves expats? So the same question applies to both. What shifts did you make to navigate through those realizations that you had in both situations?
I think that thank you for that question. It's a very important one because in Oaxaca specifically, um, I think the concept of chosen family was like also introduced to me there, right? The the elder women in the town are the tías, and the elder women are abuelas of everyone. So tú tienes tías y tienes abuelas.
Mhm.
And so it was starting to go seek for advice, or just like asking like questions, and why are the things like that. Plus, I forgot to mention this, like they speak Zapotec. So Zapotec is very they speak first Zapotec, then Spanish, and then many other languages, but Zapotec is what they speak. And so it was even like learning some words. I learned a song that I still remember. Um, Probably choppy and not perfect, but I still have it memorized because one of the grandmas, una de las abuelitas, taught it to me.
Mhm.
And so it was building this chosen family or adoptive family of who were the aunties or the grandmas that I wanted to surround myself with, that have been born and raised in that way of thinking, living, and existing, that none of them were like my aunts or my grandmas. They were from the Istmo. And so it was just sitting and having deep conversations with them. And they don't do shallow, like they really don't do shallow conversations. Everything will always be very deep and very profound and very intense, and very, I don't even know if the word is demanding, but it will challenge you to rise. Like, you're doing this, you're talking about this, you're like for what? Like, how are
Mhm.
you gonna do better?
Mhm.
And I love that that was like part of the conversations. And it was also the first time I was very much like on the tomboy side of things. Like, I grew up, I have two brothers, and I like men more than women for many reasons growing up. And it was like also my break at 17 of like, these women are fucking amazing. Like, I
Mhm.
knew I couldn't identify with the ones that wanted to do, and obviously like I love makeup, I love dressing up, I love like, I also love princesses, okay? But I was very much climbing trees and riding my bicycle and getting covered in mud, and playing with boys.
Mhm.
So me becoming friends with the girly girls at my younger age, from 1 to 17, it was
Mhm.
hard. But then at 17, with those women, I was like, fuck yeah, I can sit down like with my legs wide open, put a kawama in the middle of my legs and drink like course like a sailor in the street. Fuck yeah, like this is me. Like, this is
Mhm.
me. So then it was like my first connection with a circle of women that were so powerful,
Mhm.
that we were related by nothing other than I see you. Like,
Mhm.
like I didn't know that I was missing you so fucking much.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't know I missed you so much.
Mhm.
And so I feel like that is like a psychological and a spiritual practice, that it just went like I'm here, I'm having these learnings, and I got nobody from my old life, like from Guadalajara, can understand shit what's happening here. So I need to lean into my people here, like,
Mhm.
who are these women? And I love them so much.
Mhm.
And they still are part of my soul, like very important part of my soul. And I think that with some of those elements, the same but different happened when that happened here in the US, of me um having this realization. It was like, okay, I'm here now, I've been here for a few years. Who are my people? Right? Because when I moved in the very beginning, people would tell me like, oh yeah, like we don't like Venezuelans, we don't like Colombians, we don't like this, we don't like white people, we don't like black people, we don't like anybody. Like, we're just Mexican, and
Mhm.
we're Mexican. And then I'll go to the Mexicans, and then the Mexicans will be like, yeah, but you're not Mexican American, and you're not Chicano, and you're not Tejana, and you're like, yeah, but like you don't understand because you're not from here. So then it was like, fuck, like, I don't fit here. I don't fit with the Mexicans. I don't fit with the Mexican Americans. I don't fit with the Tejans. I don't fit with I don't fit with anyone. Plus, I'm not supposed to like anybody. So it was this moment of, oh, all this time I thought they saw me as an equal.
Mhm.
Now that I know that I'm a Mexican immigrant, who are my people?
Yeah.
And in that, it was this real intentionality of reaching out again to people and having sit downs and I found my people, right? Like, and some of them are white, and some of them are black, and some of them are Puerto Ricans. Love my Puerto Rican family. Some of them are Colombians. Some of them are Mexican Americans. Some of them are from Toluca. Some of them are from Monterrey. Like it, it, it made me use the learning at 17 and move it to, okay, I need to find my people here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the people that are going to teach me, challenge me, and indulge in this deep conversations that I want to have because I don't do shallow, and and that have the capacity to do that, not only for me but with me, you know. So I will say that like that was big for me,
Mm-hmm.
on finding your chosen family or finding your people or finding who your circle is.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful the way that you explained all of this because you were able to take the learning from that first experience and then just like boop, and we can put it over here now. And, es como una experiencia esta de quebrantarte completamente con la realización primero. You have this realization, you're falling apart, you're broken into smithereens, and then you're like, okay, and now I have to build myself together again. The first one in that, what does it mean to be a woman, just in general? And, you know, you were a teenager when that happened. Some people get that younger, some people don't get to those realizations and those learnings until way later in life. And so, qué privilegio que lo pudiste experimentar a los 17 años. And, there's this whole thing with the dichotomy of genders or whatever, but it seems like in that matriarchal society, there was such a beautiful balance of the masculine and the feminine. And, for the sake of not gendering, let's use the Chinese yin and yang that was experimented there that kind of helped you, it sounds like, kind of get to those terms as well and finding that balance instead of that heavy, this is what it means to be a woman in Guadalajara. And then, transferring all of that knowledge and wisdom over into the Mexican immigrant and finding your people es toda otra etiqueta completamente diferente que it sounds like you're still like, don't fucking label me. I'm not gonna fit into any of your little categories because it causes so much more divisiveness, right? It's a breaking apart of yourself, but in different, it's more of an external breaking apart than the internal one that took place initially. And that external breaking apart helped you to still find quién va a ser tu pueblo, quién va a ser tu tribu, que sí te apoya y que no le importan las pinches etiquetas de que sean de donde sean. And yeah, it's just really beautiful how you were able to transfer all of those things.
Thank you. And I love that you connected it to that part of the fluidity because in Guadalajara also, homophobia is one of the crimes that still kills a lot of people.
Mhm.
And I mean, I was born in 83, so the crisis of the 90s for HIV and everything, like, um, it was very clear to me that people who were queer were not accepted, and I happen to be a queer person. So that was like something that I would never talk about at all. And in Oaxaca, specifically in the Istmo, they even have a word for it in Zapotec, is the mushes. And mushes are a blessing in a household because they are sent by the gods to embody the feminine and the masculine in a household. And I don't want to talk about all of that, but like there's an entire beautiful explanation, and it doesn't make it much easier, um, because society still bleeds in, but just having a different understanding of what that embodiment of how we're both the feminine and the masculine, all of us,
Mhm.
and how the expression of our sexuality is for only us to decide how it gets expressed or not. That was another big thing for me. at 17 to learn from this community, right? Like there's even a group of um there's a couple of groups of men where their first initiations or experiences are procured to maybe be with men, just because if you cannot satisfy and be comfortable with somebody that has your same body, how would you ever dare to believe that you can like satisfy and be comfortable with a person with a different body? And there's a lot of wisdom behind that, right? Like there's a lot, and there's no um indoctrination of everybody should become gay. Like it's nothing like that at all. Is that for men and for women, right? Like how do I experience myself without another person with the same body?
Ese
And then,
autoconocimiento es
yeah.
importante. Ujú.
Gracias por seguir hablando en español. Se me brinca el cable, pero para mí eso también fue súper importante porque esa experiencia de hablar de mis preferencias sexuales era nulo, ¿no? Mi asesor espiritual, benditos jesuitas, el padre Antonio Ceguera, con él sí podía yo platicar de todo y yo le decía, o sea, me decía que yo me sentía muy perdida porque no encajaba en ningún lado, no me caían bien las chicas, no me veía yo en ningún lugar. Fue muy complejo para mí sentirme que sí estaba bien ser quien era yo.
Ujú.
Entonces, para mí, Oaxaca abre esto de a la chingada toda la puta gente a la que no le parezca como soy, sí soy.
Ujú.
Y va, o sea, voy a existir en los espacios en donde tenga que existir y en los que no, me voy. O sea, no soy árbol, no soy árbol. Si no se
Adiós.
puede estar en un lugar, me voy. Entonces, yeah, that was big. And I think again, it also opens this lens of diversity to such a wider optics for how we understand diversity in the United States, right? Um, Diversity comes from first observing nature. In nature might have all the answers, truthfully. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the first example that you gave us of living in Oaxaca, you talked about certain people that helped you through those realizations and kind of like guides, las abuelas eran como tus guías and your human teachers. Who were those people for you during that first presidency when this Mexican immigrant label came up for you? Who did you turn to, or what did you turn to navigate through that?
A huge portion of holding space for me at the time was the team of educators that I was working with that are incredible humans. Jessica Camphouse, Lauren Barong, Megan Best, and Lindsay Thomas. Now Lindsay Flor, because she got married.
Mm.
Um, those four women, we were kind of new. We had only been working for like a year. Maybe that was a year. And they're all white. And they saw my struggle
Mm.
and they really just held space for me hard. Um, all of them in different ways. I'm gonna get emotional.
Mm.
Um, Jessica, there was one day that we heard the news from a school, I think in Michigan or Wisconsin, somewhere in the north, that the teachers dress up for Halloween as the wall. And there was a lawsuit, and they were like, it was bad, but it
You
was
mean
kind of gonna
the
go
border wall?
the border wall. They were dressed up with sombreros and everything and bricks. Educators. And we were, I think, on a planning session, and that just popped on my screen and Jessica saw me. And she closed her laptop and she just said, what do you need? I was like, I need to punch somebody.
Mm.
And And she just said, like, we can do planning tomorrow. We can do planning. We should get out of campus. And we left in as a team. And I guess that was one of the biggest parts of like reaching out to other friends that I've made through school, reaching out to some of my friends that I came from Guadalajara with, Fernanda and Javier, and just like vomiting everything that I was feeling. Like, I don't know, like this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And then finding who were the people that stayed through all of the throw up, right? Like through all of the, I don't even know why is it that is hitting me like that, or why, like I don't know. And this thing also, this stigma, which thank you for asking something that makes me speak about that. When people tell you like, oh, you're a psychologist, like your life is perfect, you have all the answers.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, how about I was born a human first, and
Mhm.
this is a profession, and like yes, it's a way of thinking, and yes, I work very hard at finessing my craft because I'm very passionate about mental health and emotional intelligence and community building. But allow me to fall the fuck apart. En ese momento fue uno de los momentos más cruciales en los que yo ya no podía tener conversaciones que fueran claras para mí y necesitaba gente que me diera claridad, porque yo no sabía qué chingado me estaba pasando. O sea, yo no sabía por qué me estaba pegando tanto eso, no sabía por qué, o sea, como que decía, ¿quién? Como que fue una reversa de, en Guadalajara, crecí y me dijeron, esto es lo que es una mujer, esto es lo que bla, 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 bla. Y después de los 17 yo me volví libre, completamente libre. Entonces yo me sentía una versión de mí misma y me decían, no, tú eres esto. Y fue como, ¡ah! O sea, como, no me vas a decir tú, like, nobody's gonna tell me who I am.
Mhm.
Like, you're not gonna tell me who I am.
Mhm.
So it was like very intense. And I needed people to hold my intensity
Mhm.
without questioning, challenging it, guiding it, or solving it.
Mhm.
And so the first four women will be my team. Those women that I mentioned, Jessica, Lauren, Megan, and Lindsay. And then one of my best friends, like he's my Texan brother, Adam Vogelweed. Amazing, amazing human and a very well recognized award-winning art teacher that I met in San Marcos and now teaches in New Braunfels. And he's an incredible artist and incredible creative. My friend Jennifer. And it's funny, like everyone that I'm mentioning right now, I met through education.
Mhm.
And then my friend Promise and my friend Cameron. And I'm saying their names because this is going back to the uh, understanding who your chosen family is. It's everybody plays a role, right? Like there's brothers that you get along with, and there's brothers that you want to kill every day. And then there's like super close friends, and there's friends that you only see them once a year and you love them just the same. And it's important for me because all of these relationships have had their own courses and like it has their own rhythm. But specifically here in my time in Texas, those are the people that I feel close to. And I mean, we can go all the way up until now because obviously I'm in front of this amazing woman right here, right now, because life brought us together.
Mhm.
And the passion and the intent that we put in our mission and in our work, now I feel more and more that I have the immense luxury of feeling as loved as I love the people that I love.
Mhm.
And if I can just like briefly, quickly say, but like I had a birthday party in January 12th in Guadalajara, and I had a moment of just crying and crying. I was like, oh my God. Because I had friends from my childhood and elementary school. I had friends from middle school. I had friends from high school. I had friends from college. And I had friends from Waco, Texas.
Mhm.
And that just made my heart and my soul so fucking happy because those are my people. There's a lot of people who are my people and who can hold space for my crazy, can hold space for my brokenness, can hold space for my sadness, and also celebrate joyfully with me. And I love that. I'm gonna keep repeating that because it keeps coming back. Like I don't do shallow. Like it's really hard for me to do shallow. I can do it for work and I can do it for performance and I can do it for curated spaces in time. But in my existence of who I am as a human, I have a hard time doing it, living like that. So I'm very grateful for the friendships that can hold my intensity and that mirror that and amplify that.
Yeah.
So thank you for being one of those humans too.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for allowing me to be one of those humans. I think it's really important to have that kind of community, and my therapist self went back into analyzing how I have this belief, and I feel like several of my people also have the same belief that we're here to ascend, and there's this, it's like this upward spiral of events and situations and people that are brought into our life for some reason or another. And I can't help but link these two experiences in that upward ascension for you, because in the first one, you didn't have to go out and look for the support and the guides. They were a part of that community. But that second disruption, it's like, okay, y ahora te toca a ti a ir a buscar tu apoyo y tu sistema y tu familia que vas a escoger. Because it was so beautifully done in the first, that you learned from it and you were able to take that into the second experience. So I just wanted to point that out because I'm like, oh my God, look at this ascension spiral just
Thank you.
presenting itself so beautifully.
Thank you for making it click. It just click in a different level. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, one of the other major questions that I have here is, I feel like you kind of said it a little bit, but maybe you can give a little bit of a more detailed response to how did these experience help you to reclaim your voice as this new being that you turned into as a result of them?
Oof. Yeah. I really think that it's it's a very good question. I think that Oaxaca, rather than reclaiming my voice, it was really finding my voice. Like I feel like in Guadalajara from 0 to 17, I was a version of myself and I was a good girl and I was smart and got good grades and loved poetry. Like I was a good girl. And it is part of me. But Oaxaca allowed me to be fully me, you know, like the one that also curses like a sailor, sits with a kawama in the middle of the legs and like fuck everybody. Um, a revolutionary, an artist in a different depth,
Mm.
um, in more communion with that indigenous knowledge of how we're so connected to nature. Like I think that Oaxaca allowed me to find my voice. And then 2016, it was a reclaiming of my voice.